Hello and welcome to Unstress. I'm Dr Ron Ehrlich. Today my guest is one of Australia's leading naturopaths, Tabitha McIntosh. Tabitha's written a book, One Bite at a Time, Reduce Toxic Exposure and Eat the World You Want. Now, one of the questions I love to ask my guests, and I'm going to ask people as we go along in this podcast series, is what are some of the challenges that people face on their health journey? This is from the perspective of a health practitioner. What do they think some of those challenges are? And when you hear what Tabitha comes up with, there could well be some things that ring a bell with you, and you may be interested to see what those challenges are and what effects they could be having on you. We also discuss our preoccupation with the quick fix and how it's affecting your approach to your own health. I mean, the question is, are you looking for that quick fix? Because if you are, I tell you what, there's a whole industry waiting out there to embrace you with open arms. But if you're playing the long game, you really need to be exploring what is actually going on. And Tabitha's got some terrific insights. And I also ask her to give a couple of tips to make a difference in your life. So I think they're fabulous, and I'm sure you will too. So I hope you enjoy this chat that I had with Tabitha McIntosh. Welcome to the show, Tabitha.
Thank you so much for having me, Ron.
Tabitha, you spend so much time, well, you're with patients all the time. And what are some of the challenges that you see people face when they're coming into your practice? I mean, whether they're, well, firstly dealing with disease or actually just wanting to be healthy. What are some of the challenges?
Well, you're right. I do see sort of between 35 and 40 people a week, and it is quite unusual for a naturopath or a clinician to have been in practice 10, 12 years and still be considered a generalist. So rather than narrowing myself down to just working with digestion or just working with fertility, I like to keep things interesting, and I still see everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess the challenges that clients are suffering when they come in to see me, really, if I had to sum it up, they've lost that sense of deep connection to nature and the natural cycles. You know, I have a really strong and deep belief that the more synchronous we are with nature around us, the healthier and the more in balance we are. And obviously you need to have that combined with health literacy and education and access to clean water and things like that. But the people that I am seeing are so disconnected from their own bodies and from nature around them. They seem to spend most of their day in their head and highly stressed and highly sympathetic dominant. And that has an enormous impact on everything. That has a very dampening impact on their immune capacity. It has an awful adverse impact on their digestive comfort. And obviously dry mouth all the time, that's going to affect things like their teeth, their bowels, their digestion. And, you know, when we're highly stressed and strung out a lot of the time, things like reproduction and reproductive hormones, they're certainly not a priority if we're just trying to survive. So I'm seeing all sorts of concerns in here, lots and lots of trace mineral deficiencies, lots and lots of digestive disorders, a huge amount of infertility and subfertility, both genders, not just women.
Yep.
Significant fertility concerns and semen analysis problems with men as well. I'm seeing premature ovarian failure. I'm seeing thyroid disorders. I'm seeing sick kids, unfortunately. And I guess another sort of vibe I have from my beautiful clients is that there's always this state of urgency and they're wanting a quick fix. And truly I see myself as an educator, and it's my job to hear them out and to make sure that they feel heard as they talk through their story, but also to be teasing out through the information they share with me some understanding of where I can really come in, because the things that are driving people's choices when it comes to their health, it's not all just education, the way that I can teach them the right things to do. It's also their emotional drivers as well. So it's a very complex picture.
Yeah, now you hit on something there which I think is a central problem, and that is the quick fix.
Yeah, sure.
You know, we have been kind of programmed for the quick fix, and I think that must be one of the biggest challenges we all face as health practitioners, patients looking for that. Where's that coming from? I mean, is it our lifestyle? What is it? What's brought us to this point?
I'm sure. Look, I think we're conditioned. I'm sure it's to do with, we're all so easily connected. We're probably at information overload. Sometimes, some of my advice, obviously it can be very complicated sometimes, and sometimes it's just, could you please have a big glass of water on waking?
Yeah.
And let's try to double your vegetable intake. Things like that, it is the case. People could actually Google, but which must feel frustrating to clients sometimes. But really, our body is not used to the quick fix. Our body takes time, and we need to listen to our body's cues. I think people forget that their body is talking to them all the time. And it's actually about finding that stillness within to hear what your body has to say to you and to respond to your body's cues. When we work and nourish our body, it really works for us.
Give me some of those cues. Tell our listeners what some of those cues are. What should they be listening for?
Okay, well, mental fatigue, often that is just dehydration or perhaps low glycemic levels because people aren't eating regularly or they're not formulating their meals well. Headaches, classic dehydration or tension or even, liver overload. I'm seeing all sorts of digestive concerns, so urgency in the bowel is a problem either with the nervous system or based on what someone's eating. What else can I think of? Things like twitches, eye twitches, cramps in the calves. Usually the body's telling us that our mineral or electrolyte balance is out, and when we're also highly strung and stressed, we have very, very large urinary losses of magnesium. So I consider things like eye twitches and cramps and bruxism or grinding as really clear signs to me of magnesium deficiency. We're seeing immune compromise, people getting recurrent sore throats and things like that. Their body's just telling them that actually they need some rest.
Yep.
Problems with sleep onset, light sleep, fatigue on waking, all of these things, cravings, particular cravings for very, very sweet things or for things like chocolate, for very salty things. These are usually the body talking to us saying you really need a little bit more salt or a little bit more protein to anchor you. So,
what about a lot of people are on antacids, Nexium, they have heartburn, reflux, indigestion. What does that tell you is going wrong? And I don't want you to give a whole prescription on because it's a big topic, but there's another body signal. What is that saying to people?
Absolutely. Well, when I have every client, I go through the digestive system, of course, and symptoms from the mouth right through to the tail. So I'm looking at things like mouth ulcers, cold sores, breath, how much dental work or even fillings they may have, old style, amalgams, new style, reflux. And the thing about reflux, some conventional practitioners are very quick just to whack a PPI on, but sometimes we can experience...
PPI, now hang on, Tabitha, our audience is very... PPI.
Sorry, a proton pump inhibitor, so medication that impacts the production of stomach acid at the stomach. So just to switch it off essentially to relieve symptoms. Now, some clients will come in and say, yes, my doctor did prescribe me something, a PPI medication to stop my stomach acid, and they get no symptom relief. So when I'm listening for symptoms of reflux or discomfort after eating or even on waking, I'm not just thinking about over acid production, I'm also thinking about under acid production, hypochlorhydria. And certainly even just having enough saliva in the mouth is important to gastrin production and to stomach acid production. I find people aren't so mindful even at mealtime. They're not sort of being aroused by their food and really encouraging that cephalic phase of digestion, for all of their secretions. So reflux symptoms obviously can be mild or really compromising, but there's so many things that can be done before a medication intervention should be prescribed.
So if you had to give somebody 3, 4, 5 tips, what are the main go-away tips to get started on being healthier?
Okay, well, I think I can shoot really broadly here, can't I?
You can.
Because I would say these tips are things I'm instilling into my own children at 9 and 11, and I think would have a beneficial impact on every single person who may be listening. So I'm always keeping the kidneys in mind, and I think that they work so hard for us overnight when we're sleeping. There are so many things that we do each day that are really dehydrating. lots and lots of salt in processed foods. Most of us are on that sort of have a cup of coffee or some tea in the morning, have a glass of wine to wind down in the evening sort of roller coaster. And all of these things can act as diuretics and dehydrate us. So just to start your day with a really large glass of water to flush those kidneys and give them a little bit of extra support, I think is a really wonderful intervention. Filtered water when you can.
Just on that point, what's the point behind putting some lemon juice or apple cider vinegar in that? Is that a good thing or is that too much?
Both lemon and apple cider vinegar have a pH of around about 2. Yep. So I consider, squeezing a quarter of lemon or lime into a warm water in the morning or a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar, I consider them 2 different ways of climbing the same mountain. Mm-hmm. So the advantage of putting something with a low acidic pH like that in your water on waking is that it's going to help prepare your stomach and that stomach environment to better chemically digest your food, your breakfast. But further to that, both of those things, lemon water and apple cider vinegar, they have quite an alkalizing impact on the tissues of the body.
Yes.
And things like sugar and stress and grains and alcohol, they all have a very acidic impact on the tissues of our body. And the more we can be doing to alkalise our tissues, the better.
Now, I know we're going to go through 3 or 4 tips, but we're still at number 1 about hydration.
Sure.
Because we hear, and this annoys me, I hope it annoys you too. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. But anyway, it's about alkaline water.
Yes, okay, yeah.
What do you think about alkaline water?
Well, I think that our objectives should be getting adequate minerals from our diet, really, rather than, it is the case that with reverse osmosis filtration of our water, virtually everything's removed from the water. Some of the toxic ingredients, the pesticides, but also some of even the beneficial minerals. So there are some companies that suggest putting an alkalizer on at the end of reverse osmosis or drinking alkaline water to then balance things out. Ultimately, water is for hydration, and our diet, a nutrient-dense diet, in-season vegetables, small amount of quality animal produce, and the plant foods grown in really mineral-rich, well-cared-for soil. This should be more than adequate to provide us the minerals that we need to alkalise our tissues. More so than drinking alkaline water.
Yes. Now, I always thought of that as just being a very linear way of thinking about things. Like, my body is acidic, therefore I'm going to drink alkaline water. Yeah. It's not quite as simple as that. So, anyway, back to your, love the idea of hydration in the morning and a little bit of apple cider vinegar or lemon juice. Get us going. Great. Hint number 1, hydration.
Wonderful.
Go
okay.
on.
Well, actually, this probably extends on from hydration. When you think about even just the NHMRC's guidelines as to how all adults should be achieving somewhere between 5 to 7 metric cups of vegetables a day, there are very few clients that I have come in that can look me in the eye and say, yes, I'm already kicking that goal. Yeah. Some do, but certainly when we calculate our water intake for the day, if we are kicking that goal about 5 to 7 cups of vegetables, we're going to be achieving even more water than we would be, say, if we had things like grains on the other side of our plate or a great deal of animal products. So, my second tip, and really here's my big secret, this is what I spend all day, every day doing with every single client that comes in. At every opportunity, as I do a really thorough diet review with them, at every opportunity, if I can pull a grain out and put a vegetable in its place, we're winning. We're winning from an alkalising the tissues point of view. We're winning from a health disease, a disease risk point of view, from a digestive comfort point of view, so a weight management point of view. Really my next big tip would be work really hard to achieve your 5 and 2. Often I'm a dork and I do it as a seesaw for my clients. So your 5 to 7 serves of veggies and your 1 or 2 serves of fruit each day. And not only will you be achieving that extra water and fibre and prebiotic for the health of your microbiota, but also you'll be achieving all of those beautiful antioxidants, the phytochemicals, the plant-based antioxidants that work synergistically to protect the DNA of your every cell.
Great. Love it. Yeah, go on. 1 more. Or maybe 2 more.
Well, what I call that second point, I really call it eating the rainbow every day. And I even have a little handout that I provide quite successfully to children and husbands, which is basically a rainbow checklist. And they have to tick for me that they've eaten something of every colour 7 days a week.
Yep. Now, hang on. Why are those colours important?
Those colours provide us with a diversity of phytochemicals, okay? So the more diverse our diet is, the more diversely we are nourishing and feeding a diverse range of healthy bugs throughout our digestive system, called the microbiota.
Yep.
And the more diversely we nourish that diverse garden, the better our health.
Yep. Okay.
So,
yep. Okay. No, that's good. I mean, I like that. I like colours. Yep. Now, what's another one?
well, even though this isn't necessarily in the realm of clinical nutrition, we just need to move. We're built to move. So I've got a magic number, and then I'll get to the environment with my fourth tip. But okay. I've got a magic number. I ask of my clients, or I'm looking for it as I'm hearing a little bit about their week, I ask for my clients to be getting green and blue therapy. So again, colours, but walking outdoors, soft sand running outdoors, nature walk, coast walks. If they can be 150 minutes at least a week, it's a very small amount of exercise. It's just 3 50-minute sessions. But if they can be getting some outdoor sunshine, fresh air, nature therapy whilst they're moving their body, it's amazing how many different ailments can turn around. Period pain, delayed periods, insulin resistance, early stage insulin resistance, or mood, the impact on mood of getting this nature therapy.
Yeah, this is where we started this conversation about literally being connected with the earth. We're so much in our heads, but this move, I've heard the expression sitting is the new smoking. And as I'm talking to you now, I'm at a standing desk, which is what I spend a lot of time when I'm in my home office doing. So moving is a win on every scale. Good on you. Yeah, that's great. Okay, and you were going to, I know you have a whole course and program about environmental and chemical toxins, so it would be only appropriate that you should mention that, but it's a big one. Go on.
It is a big one, and it's hard to sum up in just one point, but I guess I'm extremely aware of the impact of the environment on the health of every single one of my clients. And there seems to be an enormous disconnect there still on for most clients. So it's not uncommon for me to have a woman, a female client coming in, seeing me after having thyroidectomy for thyroid cancer, for example, maybe papillary cancer in one nodule and, in one lobe and medullary cancer in the other thyroid lobe. But often women like this who may have had that sort of experience, it doesn't occur to them for a second that their environment may have played a role in the etiology of their cancer. So I'm talking about things like smelly candles at home, fragrance, plug-ins for the car. I'm talking about perfumes. I'm talking about personal care products. And my motto when it comes to all of this sort of thing is just keep it really simple. Have a look at your morning routine. Getting ready, have a look at those ingredients on things like the creams and the hair products and the lip glosses and things like that you might be using. If you can't pronounce those ingredients, you really want to think twice about how necessary it is. And when people can, it comes down to clinical questioning, doesn't it, Ron, when you're with people? I've had to change my clinical questioning over the years. I have to ask when I'm doing a diet review, and how are you heating that dinner up? It's not in a microwave in plastic, is it? And what are you using? Tell me about the vessel that you have your water in each day. So I'm constantly trying to gently and in a collaborative way educate my clients that the environment has such a big impact on their health. You've heard this expression, genetics loads the gun, but the environment often pulls the trigger. So I'm trying to keep plastics down, I'm trying to keep personal care products down, or advocating for those brands that are using, nature's bounty of ingredients.
It often surprises me when I talk about this publicly that, you get up in the morning, you go into the bathroom, you do it, you shave, you shampoo, you do this, you put underarm deodorant, facial. By the time you've walked out of that bathroom, you may have been exposed to 200 different chemicals or more.
Before your sip of coffee.
Before you have, it's an extraordinary thing, which kind of segues into my next question to you, because I know you've written a book, and the book is called One Bite at a Time, which certainly got my attention being a dentist, Reduce Toxic Exposure and Eat the World You Want. Tell us about the book.
Well, Eat the World You Want, the subtitle, is meant to be really empowering insofar as it's just a reminder that every single one of us has the ability to change the world. And, even some of these problems that we read about, the impact of environmental chemicals, even things like the old school organochlorine pesticides and the absolute nightmare of health effects that they've created for us, reproduction, neurodevelopment, and then the switch now to the organophosphate pesticides that are also shown to be neurotoxic, and a couple of them endocrine disrupting chemicals. So these are such big issues, and they're daunting and they're scary, but the solutions to these problems are the grassroots, small, everyday decisions that we're making. So that subtitle is around the fact that it does make an impact, not just for yourself and the people around you that you love, but also for the environment when you decide to say no to that plastic bag, or you decide to pay a little bit extra for your organic celery or your organic apples, or you decide to start doing your grocery shopping predominantly at the farmers markets on the weekend, and you engage with the people that have grown your produce and you ask them questions. This for me is a really important thing. I guess my motivation in this area of environmental medicine really kicked into gear once I became a mum, and I realised that the only thing protecting my kids from the plethora of environmental chemicals that could adversely impact health was my awareness and the decisions that I made. It wasn't necessarily that I could lean on policy to protect me or, the objectives of manufacturers are putting things on shelves. I had to be well informed, and I had to become a conscious consumer to protect the health of my kids.
Fantastic. Look, this is actually what this podcast is all about. It's about empowering individuals to take control, to build resilience, to make those, to vote every single day with the choices they make and make a big difference. So listen, we're going to have links to your website, your book. It's been fantastic talking to you. Australia's leading naturopath. Well, you're up there, and it's been terrific to talk to you. So thank you so much.
Thanks, John.
So are you listening to your body? Are you in a hurry? Are you looking for the quick fix? I'm sure you're not, because otherwise you wouldn't be listening to this podcast. But if you are, as I said, whole industry waiting to embrace you. Play the long game, and the long game is living a long and healthy life with minimal intervention from medicine or medications. And now if you needed a reason to eat lots of vegetables, she outlined quite a few, and the other one's about colours as well. If you missed that, go back and have a read of the show notes. The show notes provide you with a great resource and a great reference source, and we're going to have links to other references as well. So Tabitha's is such a great message. Her message is so great. Eat the world you want, which is a message I'm always pushing on this podcast, in my book. Take control, vote with your money. If money talks, well, make your money talk each and every day, and not only for your own good, but for the good of the planet. The two, as we know, are inseparable. So, until next week, this is Dr. Ron Ehrlich. Be well. This podcast provides general information and discussion about medicine, health, and related subjects. The content is not intended and should not be construed as medical advice or as a substitute for care by a qualified medical practitioner. If you or any other person has a medical concern, he or she should consult with an appropriately qualified medical practitioner. Guests who speak in this podcast express